Guarantee Health Solutions on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Is this a great country or what?
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. I am up here at the Shreveport Convention Center. Radiance Independence Bowl's kickoff dinner this evening. So appreciate them for having me up and accommodating me as we do the show here remotely on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start and appreciate you hanging out with us. Got a lot of football to get to here in our second hour. We're going to talk about the Saints a little bit later on, and want to start things with the LSU side of things. We did not do our Meet the Freshman series back on Friday. Obviously, a one-topic day with LSU with Skip Bertman's passing, and wanted an opportunity to talk to Jay Johnson and Ronnie Rance and Steve Schneider, and we spoke with a lot of different folks about Skip, and didn't do our normal segment there on a Friday, but wanted to jump back into it today. So let's get to our next two. It's Meet the Freshman.
Meet the Freshman. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
So we'll start today with Trenton Henderson, who is kind of, and I don't mean to be disparaging at all, but I do think this is the case, is kind of the forgotten man in this defensive line class. Trenton Henderson was a very highly thought of recruit and a big-time get for LSU, but he wasn't from Louisiana and he wasn't a five-star. So you're talking about Lamar Brown, you're talking about Richard Anderson, and then Deuce Gerald has come in and kind of stolen some headlines. But those are the headliners from this defensive line class. And Trenton Henderson is kind of the forgotten man. And look, Lane Kiffin talked about this last week when he was asked about the quote-unquote 3 freshman defensive linemen, and he said, well, there's actually a 4th one, and Trenton Henderson looks really good, but he's just kind of lost in the shuffle with those guys who are just dynamos and who have a little bit higher profile on the recruiting front. But look, this is a Pensacola native who was a consensus 4-star prospect. He was rated number 8 at defensive end in the country by 24/7 Sports. ESPN listed him number 9. This is the top 10 defensive end in the nation coming in, and he's a guy that's just kind of overlooked. He played at Pensacola Catholic, which is a smaller school. Had 50 tackles, 18 TFLs, 10 sacks, had 20 QB hurries, 6 pass breakups, and was invited to participate in the All-American Bowl. Like, this is a high-level prospect, but he just kind of gets forgotten a little bit with this high-profile freshman class. He's 6'4", he's 245 pounds, and you see him out there in the pads with those defensive ends, and he does look the part. LSU is big and physical at defensive end. You look at Prince William-on-Mielon, he is an imposing physical presence. No question about that. Jordan Ross is an inch taller and 2 pounds bigger than Prince William-on-Mielon. He's huge. Lamar Brown almost weighs 300 pounds at defensive end. He is absolutely massive. Dylan Carpenter looks good getting off the bus, no question about it. He hasn't played a lot, but he's been in the program for 3 years. He's physically mature and big, and Trenton Henderson fits that mold as well. I don't think there is a quick path to the field for Trenton Henderson. I think Umon-Mielon and Ross are your ones. I think that Carpenter and Lamar Brown are your 2s, and I think Trenton Henderson slides in there where now with Damian Shanklin and Gabriel Relaford out, Shanklin is not with the team right now, and Relaford's out for the year. That's you bring Jaden Breaker in, and that's where Trenton Henderson kind of fits in as well. But if he sticks around, this is a guy who's got some real gifts, some real ability, and I think this is a guy that we won't think about this year. But when we come out for spring ball next year, in the spring, when we come back, I guess that'll be 5, 6, 7 months from now. You'll look at that with Umon-Mielon gone and Ross gone, and he'll have a chance to compete for some playing time. No question about it. We'll see what Dylan Carpenter's future holds if he's back with the program next year. But I think Trenton Henderson is a guy that we may forget about for a year, and then he might pop up and really be an impactful player for LSU. He's just the forgotten man in a loaded signing class. So wanted to give a little hat tip there to Trenton Henderson. And then the next freshman on this list is Bryson Martinez. And Bryson Martinez is a freak athlete. I mean, a freak athlete. You're talking about a guy that's 6'5", that is 320 pounds, and East Ascension would snap him the football, would hand him the football, threw him the football at times. He is a really, really good athlete, and I think is a potential left tackle in this program one day. He's not quite as tall as you might like, but he is 6'5". He's listed at 6'5". But he's got every other gift that you're looking for at offensive tackle. He was a 4-star recruit from 1-3, 4-star according to 24/7 Sports. They rated him as the 9th tackle in the country. He's a top 5 player in the state of Louisiana. He was a 5'8" all-state player, obviously, but he's played a lot of basketball in his youth, and I love that in an offensive lineman. I think it's great when you got an offensive lineman who's light on his feet, who's got the athleticism to play on a basketball court. And so you look at right now, LSU's got Jordan Seaton at left tackle. He will be here for one season. He will move on. He will be a top 20 pick in the NFL draft. There's very little doubt about that. But if you're looking at the next left tackle for LSU, it very, very well could be Bryson Martinez. He needs to get some seasoning. He needs to put on some weight, and he needs to get reps against big-time players at this level, which he is doing right now. But this is the profile that you're looking for in an offensive tackle. You've had a really good run there with Will Campbell for 3 years. You had a year of Tyree Adams, and now Jordan Seaton. So you've been really good at left tackle over the course of the last 5 years. And I think Bryson Martinez could absolutely be the next man up there. I don't think he is for this team. For this team, I believe your backup left tackle is Sean Tompkins from Baylor. He played left tackle for Baylor last year. I think he's next up. And look, you could have a situation where Devin Harper wins that job. If you listen to the folks in Oxford, when they were projecting to this coming football team from last year, they thought Devin Harper was likely to start at one of those positions, thought he was either going to start at left tackle or right tackle for Ole Miss. He kind of profiles that way, and I think it's possible that Devin Harper is the next man up at a lot of different positions. I think he's the next man up at right guard. I think he's the next man up at right tackle. I think that he's probably next up on the right side of the line, and so he may be next man up at left tackle. That's him or Tompkins. And then I think Bryson Martinez is kind of waiting in the wings, and I think there is a ton of potential there. You've got to be good on the offensive line. We know the issues that LSU had over the last couple of seasons when they did not have quality offensive line play. You just cannot win. You cannot function as an offense, no matter if your strength is passing the ball or your strength is running the ball. If you cannot be strong at the point of attack, you have no shot. And LSU was terrible last year at the point of attack, and they were terrible on offense. And so you've got to stock the shelves with talented offensive linemen, and I think LSU is doing that to an extent. You've got some guys that are going to move on from this team. After this year, you're going to lose Jordan Seaton, you're going to lose Bo Bordelon, you're going to lose Braylon Moore, and you're probably going to lose Alu Boss. You are going to lose Boss. So that's 4 guys you're going to be replacing, and we'll see what Weston Davis does. So there's going to be playing time available, and I think Bryson Martinez is right there in that battle. So that's a look at the 2 freshmen for today. Kind of chugged along through this segment. We started back on Wednesday of last week with Deuce Geralds and with Corey Barber. We talked about Big Richard Anderson and Ryan Moret. This is Trenton Henderson and Bryson Martinez. Tomorrow we'll get into Haven Finney and Jabari Mack, a couple of guys out on the perimeter. We're still going to get to Aiden Hall, J.C. Anderson, Des Elliott, Braden Allen, Isaiah Washington, Lamar Brown, Amari Peterson. There's a ton that we've got to get to, and we'll knock off 2 every single day as we continue to move forward here with that freshman class at LSU. I don't think you're going to see a lot of impact outside of the defensive line from this freshman class on this team. Lane Kiffin wants to be old. He talked about that today. When he was talking about the defensive linemen, and he said he was concerned having those freshman defensive linemen out there. I don't think you're going to see a lot of other freshmen contribute on this team unless they're a rash of injuries, but it is a talented group. It's a smaller group, but it's a talented group, and I think that there's real reason for optimism with these guys moving forward, and I think Trenton Henderson and Bryson Martinez could be impactful players on the ends of both lines of scrimmage for LSU as you move forward. So that's Meet the Freshmen here on this Monday. We're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Let's step aside, come back, got a lot more from the Shreveport Convention Center. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Always love telling my friends over at Marucci. MarucciSports.com is the website, but stop by. Become a member at Marucci. Well, why would I be a member at Marucci? Well, if you are a member at Marucci, you get perks like being able to use the Hitter's House 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you've got a youth baseball or youth softball player that's just eating up with it, always wants to take swings and maybe don't have a spot to do it in the backyard, you got one at the Hitter's House 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Before school, after it gets dark, whenever the case may be, you've got access to it with your key card. It's the Hitter's House. You can also take a tour over at Marucci and learn about the official bat of Major League Baseball, how it started in a shed 20 years ago and has grown to the best in the world. They make 1,200 bats every day. You can see where they make them when you take that tour over at Marucci. Check them out online at MarucciSports.com. That's my friends at Marucci.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Monday show is always brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. They're online at GuaranteeHealth.com, GuaranteeHealth.com. Always remind you of my friends at Ochsner as well. Families getting ready for back-to-school season. It's here, and Ochsner Health is reminding parents that success in the classroom starts with overall wellness. That means checking in on your child's mental health, not just the grades. Pay attention to those changes in moods or behaviors. Great time to connect, and attention changes. Time to connect and encourage open conversations about how they're feeling. Nutrition always plays a big role. Ochsner recommends packing balanced lunches with proteins, fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, getting kids involved in meal planning so healthy choices are more appealing. And for those student athletes, make sure they're prepared with that annual sports physical, proper hydration, stretching, rest, and the right protective equipment. That's all from our friends over there at Ochsner. I was not able to be out at LSU's football practice today, obviously here up in Shreveport at the Convention Center for the Independence Bowl's annual kickoff dinner. But Matt Moscona was able to stop by practice today, and he wrote up a practice report over at LouisianaSports.net. I was able to kind of comb through that and glean a few things here that I'd like to touch on this Monday as LSU gets into their last, really truly physical week of camp. Next week, they'll probably back off just a little bit. And then on game week, Lane Kiffin likes to really go light on Mondays, obviously, and then ramp things up on Tuesdays and tackle. Wednesdays pretty physical. And then by the time Thursday rolls around, they really ramp things down from a physicality perspective and take mental reps. So this will be a physical week of practice beyond today. They had their scrimmage on Saturday, not as full a workload today. But there were some absences to practice today. Harlan Berry was not present for the workout today. And so you never like to see that, but Lane Kiffin did say that he thought he would be just fine. It looks like they're getting some health back at the wide receiver position. Jace Brown and Winnie Watkins have been in gold no-contact jerseys. They were both present and in their regular white jerseys today, so they were full speed. That's a really good thing to see. Jabari Back is still in his gold no-contact jersey, but he's participating fully, so that's a good thing for them. The wide receiver position is as fascinating as any on this team. I talked about it at length back on Tuesday of last week when I was just saying there's not a position on this team that I have less confidence in putting a depth chart together than wide receiver. Like, I could tell you what I think, but I don't have any conviction in it. I think Jace Brown's the number one. Am I 100% positive? No. I think Jackson Harris is going to play a lot. Do I know that? I do not. I think that you've seen a huge camp from Trey Wilson, and I think he's a really dynamic playmaker, but I couldn't tell you if he's ahead of Winnie Watkins or not. They're kind of similar in the fact they're a little bit on the shorter side. They're quicker. They're guys that are really explosive that aren't necessarily vertical threats. Talking about not down the field, I mean literally going up vertically, but I'm just not sure. And so health is going to be a big issue there, and it appears they're getting some guys back at the wide receiver spots. On the defensive front, you didn't miss a couple of guys today. Malik Blockton and Jordan Ross were not there. Lane Kiffin was asked about those guys, said they should be fine. Here's something that's been made abundantly clear by Lane Kiffin. Abundantly clear by Lane Kiffin. We are not getting injury information. So if I'm if I'm going to put LSU coaches in boxes here, if there's a transparent box for injuries, Will Wade's going to get a check mark there. If there's you're not getting anything from me on that box, Jay Johnson and Lane Kiffin are over there. And I've said this before. I'm fine with that. That is completely fine with me. I don't feel as a media member or as a fan that I have a right to injury information. I don't feel that way. And some people say, well, what about gambling? Well, it's gambling. Like you're gambling if you don't have the injury information. Now you're going to have to put together that SEC availability report, and you're going to have to do it properly. I'm sure y'all are not aware of this. I follow a lot of different media members across the league. When it comes to injury information, Lane Kiffin famously, when they made you start coming out with the injury report, his first one at Ole Miss, he put like 32 guys on it. Like anybody that was like on the roster, he put on the injury report because he doesn't want to divulge that information. And I'm with him on that. I think there is a tactical advantage to be had if you know the left guard is hurt and not playing. I think there is an advantage to that, and if a coach wants to protect that, I'm okay with it. But with all the money that's in sports gambling now, you've obviously got a lot of folks that demand that information, and they're going to put it out. So we're not going to get that until game week. We're not getting any information on, but Lane Kiffin said, hey, excuse me, these guys are okay. Matt looked at some of the quarterback work, and it said it was kind of an uneven day for Sam Levitt today. He started off missing a couple throws to the tight end, was looking for Trey'Dez Green, looking for Zach Grace, overthrew go ball to Eugene Trey Wilson, but he also cleaned it up later and was really hitting on some of the intermediate routes and the goal line routes, hit Winnie Watkins in the end zone and made a throw to Tyree Holloway as well. He looked at what the backup quarterbacks were doing and said Huson Longstreet was perfect on his 10 reps today, 10 for 10. As I told you on Friday, I fully expect that Huson Longstreet is the backup quarterback on this team. Maybe it was Thursday I did that because Friday was an all-skip show. But when I was out there, it was evident to me that Huson Longstreet was getting significantly more reps than Landon Clark. And that tells me that story, that's the guy they're going with at the backup. I think going back to the spring, there was a real neck-and-neck battle. It was not as if it was obvious when you were out there that one of these guys is a former 5-star recruit who was an Elite 11 guy and the other one comes from Elon. Like it was not that obvious seeing those guys participate in the spring. They kind of look a little bit similar. They're both around 6'1". They're both pretty good arm, pretty good athlete. Not necessarily a rocket launcher or some super dynamic athlete that's going to really burn you on the ground, but good enough to go get you 12 yards if you need it. But I think as you've continued to watch this play out, it appears evident to me that Huson Longstreet is taking the reins there as the backup quarterback behind Sam Levitt. So that was more of what Matt saw today. I thought it was funny. Lane Kiffin was playing Rocky Top over the speakers. That's a trip that LSU is going to make in November, and they're already getting ready for that, I guess. But that was another note that they had on practice today. I'm not really concerned about the injury situation right now. I think that they've been relatively healthy in camp. Obviously, you had a couple of really significant injuries in the spring with Gabe Relaford going down for the season with the torn ACL and with the Achilles injury that you saw suffered by Aiden Anding. But they've been relatively healthy, and I'll knock on wood here and hope that doesn't jinx anything. But as I talked about previously, Lane Kiffin is very, very, very intentional with what he does to try to keep his players healthy. Now, there's some things you just can't do anything about. Like, I watched Aiden Anding's injury. I saw it happen in Tiger Stadium right in front of my eyes. Nothing you can do. There was no tackle on the play. It was not excessive contact. He jumped a route in the flat, intercepted it, and took a step towards the other end zone, and his Achilles snapped. Like, there's just nothing you can do about injuries like that. But if you take care of guys, you space out practices, you give ample time for recovery, you can be more cognizant of what your players are going through, and you can get guys through camp healthier than if you're looking like the Junction Boys out there and practicing for 8 hours straight in the 105-degree heat. So Lane Kiffin's going to err on that side. He always has. He always is going to. And they're relatively healthy right now with one big physical week to go before that first game. We'll see how it goes the rest of the way, but it doesn't appear right now, based on what we've seen out there at practice and what we've heard, that there are any significant injuries at this point, and I'm not overly concerned right now about Harlan Berry, about Malik Blockton, about Jordan Ross. And it was great to see that Jace Brown and Winnie Watkins and Jabari Mack all heading in the right direction after they were nicked up, to use a Les Miles term, last week. Looks like everything is on the up and up for those guys right now, so that's a very, very good thing. So I haven't looked at the schedule for this week. I think there's a practice on maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And then I think they'll scrimmage again on Sunday. But there is a practice report up right now from Matt Moscona on LouisianaSports.net, and we heard a little sound from Lane Kiffin earlier today talking about the scrimmage on Saturday and then the workout today. So all things moving in the right direction here as LSU's getting ready for Clemson here coming up in 3 weeks. We're here in Shreveport at the Convention Center. It's the Independence Bowl's kickoff dinner tonight. So very much appreciate them for having me up at the Convention Center, setting us up here to do the show. I'm very much looking forward to the event this evening. So appreciate them again for accommodating us here for this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. They're online at guaranteehealth.com. We'll step aside, come back. We'll talk a little Saints and a little LSU in our next segment, a little bit more sound from Lane Kiffin, so we'll get into that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you've got a crack in your tub or you've got a crack in the shower, maybe it looks small, maybe it looks insignificant to you, but do something about it. Don't just ignore it. Because David Vaughn was talking to me back in our last meeting a couple weeks ago, and he said, look, we see these small cracks. Water starts getting places you didn't know it was going, you didn't want it, and all of a sudden you've got mold. And all of a sudden you've got rot, and what looks like a small and insignificant problem turns into a huge one as that water gets into the walls, gets into the ceilings, gets into the floors, and you got issues. So if you see an imperfection, if you see a crack in that tub or in that shower, let David Duvall come out. Trust the expert to come out and take a look at it. Maybe it's a quick fix, and maybe you need to do some sort of renovation or remodel. David can handle any and all of that. He's online at OneBathAndClosets.com. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Get that free consultation with David Duvall, One Bath and Closets, online at OneBathAndClosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding health care forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Coming to you from downtown Shreveport here in the Convention Center. They were setting everything up for the Independence Bowl's kickoff dinner. It was going to be myself and Tyron Matthew, but Tyron's sick, so Tyron's not going to be making the trip up to Shreveport this evening, so the event is likely going to be postponed, so that's a bit of a bummer. But again, appreciate them for accommodating me here, and I got a chance to drive up and see my family, which is a good thing. But it looks like we're not going to go through with the event this evening, which is a bit of a bummer. I was really looking forward to chatting with Tyron. I can't think of a player that played the way that he does. I know that I mentioned this last week when we were talking about Tyron, but I've never seen a player just take the football away. And I've also been in press boxes over the course of the last 15 years on a lot of different occasions. And press boxes, for those of you that are not I've never been in one, are pretty sterile environments. Like you're not allowed to cheer, and there's no clapping. Nobody's drunk up there. So not quite the same as being down in the stadium. It's a subdued environment. I have only, in my time, heard the press box gasp audibly twice that I can think of. Twice. It was Tyron just before halftime of the West Virginia game when he came off the offensive left side, batted that ball in the air, intercepted it, and ran it down to the 1 yard line. When he did that, the whole press box, which was closed in at West Virginia, just gasped audibly when he did it. And the other one was actually in the Georgia Dome when he was about to run the second punt back. He ran the first punt back, and that didn't garner any reaction that I noticed in the Georgia Dome press box because it's a punt return. It's a very standard play. But then when he almost did it again, he did that zigzagging run through the Georgia defense, and they finally got him. When he was in the middle of making all those guys miss, the press box was buzzing. And there just aren't a lot of players that can elicit that kind of emotion from a working press box. But Tyron could do it, and I was very much looking forward to chatting with him today, and hopefully we can make it happen again sometime in the next couple of weeks. But not going to happen this evening here in Shreveport, which is a bit of a bummer. Let's talk a little bit more about the Saints and LSU. I want to play sound from both of the head coaches. We'll start with Lane Kiffin. Talked about utilizing the green dot in the helmets, meaning the communication system with the quarterback and the linebacker.
I believe we're number one in the country over green dot time of total offense and passing offense. So I think it's benefited us. I think that speaks a lot to Charlie and his ability to communicate to the quarterback, and then the relationship developed in that and how that all works. It's not just as easy to just give a play. I shouldn't say that. Some people do that. Ours is a lot more in depth of what we do and how we work it, and where the 15 cuts off, 15 seconds, and our ability to get things done fast and in fast so we can still talk to them all the way up to that point. Or if you think about it, if you're a slower team, you don't have very long to talk to until it comes off. So I think it's been of great benefit to our last two quarterbacks and how they played.
It's very interesting to learn the layers behind this tempo and what it does for an offense. It obviously gets you into a rhythm. It obviously puts the defense back on its heels. It allows you more time to talk to your quarterback and potentially the defense less time to substitute and to get complicated calls in. It shortens up the terminology so that you have an easier installation for a massive team of transfers. There are just a lot of reasons why that tempo is an asset to an offense, and one of them is you have until that 15-second mark to talk to the quarterback, and if you've got the play in very quickly with some hand motions, you can now talk to the quarterback about what he's seeing in front of him, not just reading the play and shutting things off, and that's something that Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weis do, and you've got to be really, really efficient in what you're doing to make that work, and LSU obviously is going to be, because Ole Miss was, and you got the same head coaches, and you got a veteran quarterback that's older, that's been through the wars of college football, and so you're going to have an opportunity to really utilize that system to get as much communication as possible before it turns off at the 15-second mark. And Kiffin expounded upon Charlie Weis's ability to make that work.
I think that speaks a lot, obviously, to Charlie, like I said, and you're doing that in the SEC. You know, there's a lot of easier conferences defensive-wise, definitely, to do that in. So, again, just what I said, that's why he was so sought after. He's been so sought after for a couple years around the country, and why he makes what he makes.
Charlie Weis, you get the sense, was a very important person for Lane Kiffin. He wanted to make sure that he had Charlie Weis coming to Baton Rouge. And there was a time right after that, because Charlie Weis got on the plane with Lane Kiffin after that crazy Saturday in Oxford, or Sunday, whatever day it was. Ole Miss played on Thursday that week, so I'm not sure what day of the week it was, but I guess it was Sunday when Lane Kiffin flew to Baton Rouge. And Charlie Weis got on that plane. And then he wanted to go back and coach the offense, and Pete Golding needed a coach to coach the offense. And I don't think was completely comfortable with Joe Judge doing that, so he wanted Charlie Weis to do it to give them the best chance to win. So Lane Kiffin allowed Charlie Weis to go back and do that, and he did. And in the course of that, Charlie Weis gave some real consideration to staying at Ole Miss, and LSU found $500,000 of money in the couch cushions and made sure that Charlie Weis didn't have those second thoughts and came right on back to LSU, and he did. And you get the sense that it's a key guy for Lane Kiffin, though Lane runs the offense, and Charlie Weis won't be in Baton Rouge very long. He'll get a head coaching job here pretty quickly. And if he wants one at potentially a lower level. But he was important to Lane to keep on this team, and he has, and he's going to be very, very influential. I was surprised to learn that Charlie Weis calls the plays. I just assumed that Lane Kiffin was the play caller at Ole Miss. I don't know how every single coaching staff is handled in the SEC in terms of play calling. I just assumed Lane Kiffin called the plays. He doesn't. Charlie Weis is the play caller, and certainly was the play caller for Ole Miss when Lane Kiffin came down to LSU and Ole Miss was in the playoffs. So he's a key cog and a guy that LSU is going to lean on heavily this year, and it's a good thing they're going to have him. And the guy that he's got to get up to speed is Sam Leavitt, and that's a guy that Lane Kiffin has now gotten to see for 3 weeks in fall camp and gave an update on how he's looked.
He's moved great, and really, we knew obviously what an athlete was, especially 2 years ago on film, and but he moves around great. Got out of a lot of trouble with, some great pass rush and great pressures that came at him, and some that came free Saturday.
And that's great to hear. This is something that I've talked about. We are not going to see Sam Leavitt at practice. The media is not going to see Sam Leavitt at practice trying to elude rushes and trying to run the football. We're not going to see how healthy his foot is. I do a weekly radio hit in Shreveport. I did Chuck Oliver earlier today. I have gone on in Clemson, and every time someone has me on, they ask me how's Leavitt's foot. And I say, look, it's best I can tell when he's out there stationary throwing routes, he looks fine. But I'm not going to see him run. The first time we'll know how healthy Sam Leavitt's foot is when he takes off against Clemson, whether whether he's evading a rush or whether he's just on a standard run or he's scrambling. That's the first time we will see him as the media and you personally. That's the first time we'll see him. I have every reason to believe that Sam Leavitt is just fine. But I'm not going to see it. And it's good to hear that Lane Kiffin saw him evading a rush on Saturday in the scrimmage and that he looked good doing it. That's as good an update as you can get, and we're not going to get anything further than that when we're out there at practice. So that's a good update, a positive update on Sam Leavitt. All right, let's transition things over to the New Orleans Saints. And to do that, we'll hear from Kellen Moore after the scrimmage. I opened the show today talking about the Saints and how I thought it was a really good day for Zach Wilson and I thought it was a bad day for Spencer Rattler. Rattler's line looks fine at 8 of 11, but I thought he looked uncomfortable early in the game. That turnover was so ugly. He took a couple of sacks. He turned the football over. I just didn't think it was a positive day for Spencer Rattler at all. But on the flip side, then you saw Zach Wilson come in and really operate the offense nicely, hit a couple of deep shots, got the ball in the end zone, and I thought looked really good. I put the caveat in there. We're all aware that he's working against guys that are probably going to get cut. So we understand Zach Wilson's NFL history, and I'm not here to tell you that the Saints have solved their quarterback issues and Zach Wilson's going to push Tyler Shuck. Like, obviously, you know that's not where we're going here. But I will say that I think that Zach Wilson looked good, and I think having a quality backup quarterback is a good thing. And Kellen Moore spoke to the development he's seen in Zach Wilson.
I think that was great for Zach. Zach's a really talented quarterback. I think he's a really, really good football player. I've enjoyed seeing him just grow through the whole offseason program from OTAs to training camp to now. I think he's, Zach's still, 26, might have just turned 27, if I remember right. He's still got tons of growing to do. And, I think he's done a great job of applying himself this year in the system. And so proud of what he was able to do out there on the field.
He's got some real-world experience. I mean, that's a high draft pick in a big city that was given the keys to a dysfunctional bus and had an awful start to his career. Like, there's no two ways about that. He didn't play well. It was an awful ecosystem for a young quarterback, and it didn't go well. But he is talented, as Kellen Moore said. You don't get picked in the top 5 of the NFL draft if you don't have some real ability. And so maybe he's a guy that you can bring in and bring in as a backup who hangs around for a little bit and becomes an asset in your organization as a guy who's got some experience that can help Tyler Shuck along the way. I'm under no illusions that Zach Wilson is going to come in and be Nick Foles and be a guy that comes in and becomes a star and leads the Saints to a playoff run. I don't think he's that good a quarterback, but I do think he's got experience. I do think he's got something to offer Tyler Shuck, and that's an important thing. If Shuck gets hurt and you got to go to Wilson, that's not going to be a great thing for New Orleans. That goes without saying. But I do think that he potentially becoming the backup quarterback could be a good thing. Spencer Rattler's going to have to hold him off, and I don't know that Saturday was a step in the right direction for Spencer Rattler in doing that. That's my opinion on the matter. I think that Zach Wilson had a better day, but they've got a lot of reps to get to over the course of the next 3 weeks, and they've got another preseason game, and maybe you see Rattler play against some of the lesser competition later in the next preseason game. They're not going to get a ton of reps in these joint practices this week out west. That's going to be a lot of Tyler Shuck, but it's an important role that one of these guys is going to try to win, and we'll see how it goes. But if you look back on Saturday's game, I absolutely think that it was Zach Wilson's day, not Spencer Rattler's, in my estimation. I think Kellen Moore probably saw a lot of the same things. So we'll keep things moving with the New Orleans Saints. I want to remind you that our Monday shows are brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. They're online at guaranteehealth.com. That's guaranteehealth.com. They've got 40-plus years of healthcare leadership experience. They've got experience managing 23 health system partnerships across 12 states, over 1 million patient visits per year. Let them build the foundation, and they guarantee you that patients will come. Check them out online at guaranteehealth.com. That's guaranteehealth.com. If you think about the last time you went to the doctor, now think about the last time you felt like a valued guest. Guarantee Health Solutions is changing that. They're a Baton Rouge-based healthcare growth and experience firm that becomes your executive team. They align your strategy, your operations, your marketing, your patient and team member experience into one model. Hospitality is the new standard in healthcare. Guarantee Health Solutions is guiding healthcare forward. Let us build the foundation, and we guarantee you the patients will come. That's Guarantee Health Solutions. They bring you our Monday shows each and every week. We are here in in Shreveport in the Convention Center in downtown Shreveport. Independence Bowl's annual kickoff dinner was scheduled for this evening, but had to make a move on that. Tyrann Mathieu was the guest of honor this evening, are not going to be able to make it up from South Louisiana, so they're going to postpone it to another day, which is certainly disappointing. I was looking forward to our conversation with Tyron this evening, but hopefully able to make that happen a little bit moving forward prior to when things get real busy during football season. So if you're listening to me in Shreveport, which I know a lot of you do, and you had plans to come tonight, cancel those plans. They will not be having the dinner this evening, but hopeful to get it on the books for another night in the coming weeks. So disappointing, but I'm thrilled to be in Shreveport, thrilled to get a little family time here on this weekend, and I'll head on back to Baton Rouge, and I'll be here for our show tomorrow. So we'll take one more break. We will come back and close out the show. It is a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Business in Baton Rouge for 35 years. And they've done that because they create such a wonderful buying experience for their customers. Their customer service is second to none. They take that extremely seriously at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. There's a lot of people that have had unpleasant interactions on car lots. We know that with pushy salespeople, feel like you're being taken advantage of or told half-truths. It's not pleasant. That's never going to happen at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They're going to be transparent with you. They're going to help you get behind the car that you're looking for. Test drives are phenomenal. Got an opportunity to get behind the wheel of a brand new GMC, a brand new Chevy, or perhaps you're looking for a pre-owned. They've got a pre-owned vehicle that fits every single budget. So if you're looking for a new ride, go up Highway 61 in St. Francisville and check out my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They're online at fabrychevrolet.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding health care forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Winding thing down here from the Convention Center downtown Shreveport. Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. So lots that we've gotten into over the course of the show today. Talked a little bit about LSU's practice today. Talked a little bit about the Saints preseason opener back on Saturday. Kind of set the scene for what will come this week. The Saints are out west this week. Sharif Ishak is out there in Oxnard for WDSU, and he'll be with us tomorrow on the show. We'll also talk to Glenn West, who's been out there with LSU's practices over the course of the last couple of weeks. So we'll talk some Tigers with Glenn. So lots to get to on tomorrow's show, and this is going to be the toughest week, I think, because the newness of training camp is over, and we're still not really knocking on the door of that first game. If you've been listening to us for 2 hours, I appreciate that very much, but just keep in mind that most of our listenership turns over every 20-25 minutes. So this is something I mentioned back in the first hour, but I'll do it again here. I was fully committed that LSU was playing a football game a week from Saturday. I really thought that was the case. I thought Alyssa and my wife and I are going to go out of town this weekend, and then we're going to come back and it's game week. Like I'd burned that into my brain, and that's just incorrect. There's a week in the middle there, and I just omitted it from my brain. And when I came to that realization on Saturday that we weren't 2 weeks out, we were 3 weeks out, it really made me sick to my stomach. Because you wait all summer to get to August 1st, and we did, and we got to training camp for the Saints, and we got to LSU fall camp, and we've gotten some practice reports in, but it always drags right here in the middle. And this is the part that's the toughest, especially for the players, but even for us who are grinding this deal and getting ready for that first game. I really, really thought that it was going to be. I really thought it was going to be 2 weeks, and it's in fact 3. But we'll get there one way or another. It'll be here, and the season will fly by, and that's the way it always happens, right? But we're inching that direction. We'll certainly talk a lot about the Tigers and Saints on tomorrow's show. But for right now, we got one order of business left. That is take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
All right, so to start off, take it or leave it, we have former Major League pitcher Tommy.
Uh-oh, Jordan. I can hear the music, but I can't hear you.
Oh, damn. All right, well, I'm talking, Hunt. I'm talking. All right, so, damn, you can't hear me.
All right, Jordan, I can't hear you. We'll scrap take it or leave it on this beautiful Monday in Shreveport. I saw some of the things that Jordan typed in that we can mention. He talked about the death of Tommy John, who won 288 games, and that's not what he's known for. Like 288 wins is a lot of wins, but Tommy John is known because he got hurt, and then they said, well, we might be able to fix that elbow and let you get back to throwing. Let's see. And they took that tendon out of his leg and put it into the elbow, and then all of a sudden that ligament is ready to go, and boom, he's able to pitch again and was able to go out there and finish his career 14 additional years after that surgery. So certainly it's an interesting way to become have your legacy live on, but he certainly will. It's the two words you never want to hear, unfortunately, but he had a wonderful big league career. 288 wins, died at the age of 83. Looking at the preseason AP poll, Ohio State, the first non-SEC team to be ranked number one since Clemson back in 2020. And I would buy that. You bring your quarterback back. You've got a team that just always finds a way to go 11-1 or 12-0. Just that's what Ohio State always does. They've done it basically my entire life, with the exception of just a couple of seasons. So I'm okay with them being ranked at number one. LSU, incidentally, in the AP poll, which Lane Kiffin was asked about the AP poll today, said, I just don't care about that at all. And he shouldn't care about it at all because it is completely worthless. But incidentally, if you were looking at where LSU ranks, Tigers come in right just outside the top 10, I believe. They come in at number 11. Yep, literally just outside the top 10. They come in at number 11. Teams ranked ahead of LSU that LSU will play this year. Oklahoma at 10. LSU doesn't play Oklahoma, sorry. Ole Miss at 9, A&M at 8, those two on LSU's schedule, Texas at 5. So those would be the teams ranked ahead of LSU that are on LSU's schedule. Alabama is preseason number 13. That is just it's a hard thing to say out loud. There was just forever and ever amen. Alabama was a top 2 preseason team, and it's very evident after losing they've lost 8 games over the last 2 years. That's the way it goes. They're back out at number 13, and I think a lot of that has to do with the losses, and you also don't know exactly who their quarterback's going to be, so not great there for Alabama. But LSU, let's see how many ranked teams are on LSU's schedule this year. LSU will play Tennessee, who's ranked 20th. LSU will play Alabama 13th, Ole Miss 9th, A&M 8th, Texas 5th. So that's 5 ranked teams on LSU's schedule coming up this year. Tigers come in at number 11 in the preseason AP poll, which, again, doesn't really matter much, does it? And then Jordan put this story in the doc for Take It or Leave It. Said a Florida man has been arrested after an altercation with his neighbor, which saw him fling dog poop at him, threatened to hit him with a children's scooter. According to the report, the man claimed he had complained to his neighbors about their dog using his yard as a toilet. 35-year-old reportedly confronted the man at his home before hitting him with the feces. Flinging dog poop, take it or leave it. I'm going to leave that. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? Can you just not do ridiculous things like throw dog poop at people and, hit people with scooters? Why don't you just not do that? Just stay inside, watch some TV, drink some lemonade, just chill out. Don't be a complete and utter lunatic and do things like that. It's like Billy Madison lighting the dog poop on fire, like a toddler move. Just utterly ridiculous. So, yeah, I'm leaving that all day long. That's it for Take It or Leave It. Again, unfortunately, bit of a bummer this afternoon. I'm up here in Shreveport at the Convention Center. Plan was for the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl to have the annual kickoff dinner this evening. That has been postponed. If you're listening to me from Shreveport, I had plans to come in for that. Tyron Matthew, the guest of honor, was not able to make it today. Fell ill this morning, so not able to make it up. I was scheduled to chat with Tyron. I was going to talk to him about his upbringing in New Orleans. I was going to talk to him about recruiting, his freshman year, his relationship with Patrick Peterson, all the amazing plays at LSU, being the Heisman. I wanted to talk to Tyron about the national championship game. I mean, I've heard T-Bob tell his variation of that story. I've certainly talked to Brandon Taylor about that night as well, and I was going to have Tyron talk to us about that and what his memories were of that. Then, of course, the dismissal from the team. I still remember the day that we got called into that press conference. I was covering the team for Bayou Bengals Insider, and we got called in for that press conference, and we didn't know what it was for. Just everybody be it. Les Miles wants to address the media call at 5 o'clock. I'm not sure when it was, and said that Tyrann Mathieu no longer part of the football team. I remember that day very, very well, and I was going to talk to him about that, and obviously it sparked a great run in his life as he rebounded from that, made it into the NFL, became an All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, and got to play for the Saints as well. So I was really looking forward to kind of talking about Tyrann's football life and then where he goes from here. I know he's doing a little bit of podcasting as well, and perhaps might want to get into coaching. So I was looking forward to chatting with Tyrann, but not going to be able to do that this evening. Hopefully we can get something on the books for later on and maybe get him on the show as we move forward. If you missed any of today's show, you can certainly catch it on demand. We've got a lot of content from today's show. Talked about the Saints preseason opener on Saturday, talked about LSU's practice this morning, and then going back to the scrimmage on Friday, heard some sound from Lane Kiffin as well as Kellen Moore. So it's been a jam-packed show here from the Convention Center here in downtown Shreveport. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. I want to remind you that you can always find our full shows at Hunt Palmer Show, wherever you find your sound. If you're looking for just LSU content, Hunt on LSU. Looking for Saints content, Hunt on Saints. Pretty easy, and they cut those up into really digestible 10, 12-minute segments, so you can check those out wherever you find your podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. If you want to check us out at LouisianaSports.net, you can do that for free every single day. I'm out of here. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. It's been a Monday edition.
The Hunt